Now, the music's nice, and what's nice, Mikey D, is when your daughter, little Lene, who we just heard from in the car, she gets to rock with her daddy.
Oh, yeah. She rocks. She listens to a lot of the stuff that I listen to.
I used to get a lot of Jim Neighbors from my dad.
We had a lot of Jim Neighbors. Now it's a lot of Christian contemporary that I get. A lot of Sandy Patty if I'm in the car with my dad now.
Your dad used to control the radio on, trips?
Oh, he totally controlled it. That was it. There was no saying it whatsoever. There wasn't even a suggestion of maybe putting on something else that he had.
I think sometimes we would hit him with like a little bit of top 40, but mainly we were just rocking real old school, like almost a beautiful music, into occasionally some country. And it was like having a drill in my forehead.
Fortunately for us, a lot of times he wouldn't even let the radio be on in the car. If we were traveling along...
I couldn't live like that. I'd rather hear static.
And it's we should just have conversation. Why can't we just talk to each other? We got a lot of that. A lot of trips with just no radio whatsoever.
What the hell did you talk about?
Oh, who knows? I was knee deep in the cooler of sandwiches.
But seriously, what gives the dad the right? I mean, there's certain rights he takes. And running the radio is another one.
That is his thing.
Yeah.
He'll do it to the TV, too. The dad has to have the remote.
Yeah, the dad has the remote.
And he's usually picking the shows.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to try to get one past them.
I mean, you can come home from school and you can watch your shows, whatever. The dad comes in the door. In our house, the TV went off at supper time. At prime time, that was Dad's choice, and also Sundays.
Even if my dad was asleep in his big chair, which was another thing, you couldn't turn the ball game off. Now, again, the dad will get the big chair. The big, comfortable, fat-ass chair is for him. You can sit on it if he's not around. I'll tell you another thing. The paper. My dad could not stand for me to read the paper first.
No, if you touch that paper, he can tell. You can't open a page of a paper, and a dad will freak out because you can put it back with precision, and it's still messed up according to him.
I couldn't attempt. I wouldn't even bother attempting.
The Sunday
if I was reading the paper, my dad come in, I would just take off.
The Sunday paper, we actually had to have the funny section handed to us. You couldn't go in looking for it, digging through for that funnies. You were going to be handed Beetle Bailey.
Mikey, what did you always remember with your dad that he always had to have?
My dad always used to have to make the coffee in the morning. If anybody else...
Oh, that's a good one.
You know, now, he used to be a mailman, so he used to wake up before everybody else, so he used to make it, and he always used to be ready for my mom, or when I got older for me. But if he was off and my mom made it, he would throw it right out. Always throw it out, and he would have to make it his way. That was it.
You know, to this day, if my parents don't have coffee in the morning, it's like flip-out time. Because I'm not a coffee drinker, and they would come to my house, and then they would go, do you have coffee? I go, no. What? So they literally start bringing their own coffee. Because I try to have like a taster's choice, like, is this coffee? Says it on there. No. My mom had to get up like a little earlier and have the coffee done for my dad. So he got up like a junkie and started hitting it.
Yeah, and it was like, the old coffee pots where, you put the grounds in there.
Oh, the percolator?
Right, yeah. Right,
yeah, that's exactly. The kind my folks had, too. And, I love the smell of, that coffee grounds. That is such an excellent smell. And I'll even hang around in the supermarket in that area sometimes, just taking a couple of hits off of it. Although I really don't like to, I drink a little bit of cappuccino. I'm not a coffee a day guy. I get too wired. But I love the smell of coffee grounds. Maybe I ought to just kind of do it with the decor of my house and that. 866-277-4969. 866-277-4969.
In our house, Ronnie, my dad, the one thing in particular he had to have was his own soda. He decided he was going to start drinking Sprite to get rid of the caffeine. And you weren't allowed to touch that bottle of Sprite.
Oh, yeah, your dad does have, certain things that are just for him.
You couldn't touch the Sprite, and it's still going on today. This man ferrets away bottles of black cherry soda now. And if he catches anyone with one, you'll get the thing. You drinking my soda?
Well, yeah, and I'm also eating your food, and I'm sleeping in your house. Why is this one thing off limits?
Why is there a fence around the soda bottle?
What happened there? That suddenly soda became something that everything else is ours. Why is this just yours? I'd like a little beverage.
He was marking the bottle. He would put a mark on the Sprite bottle to see if it was going down. Yes, I swear.
Now that's ridiculous.
He's a madman when it comes to soda pop.
That one is too far along. Here comes Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy, what do you got for us?
My dad had to be, when we were all going places, the last guy in the car. He could not. Everything had to be in place like a rock show, and my dad would be Elvis hitting the stage as it was time the motor. God forbid, like my mom went to the car and they forgot something, like faked them out, and he was on his march, forget it.
It is a good point, because Springsteen will always walk out last. The rest of the band is there, they're setting up, but it ain't till Springsteen walks out that the actual show begins. And that was your dad.
I will not walk through the car door until everyone is on stage and ready.
What was he doing while you were there? Was he just putting on makeup, or what was happening?
And like I said, the worst part was, like, my mom would be ready, we'd all be in place, and he would start to walk, and my mom would forget something. So then my dad's halfway through the walk.
Would he stop the walk, or would he keep going?
Did he know he was doing it, or was it just like...
I think he knew it was a thing where he did not want to be the guy waiting around, like, let all the other people just wait for everything. He's like, listen, when I'm there, it's go time. So
it's go time.
He would fill up all the time, mostly with tantrums. Like,
I'll tell you, I would do the same thing. Now that I've learned about this, I'm going to start picking up from my family. Hey, Matt, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, buddy. Yeah.
Actually, this is about my grandfather. He's a little old man, like most grandfathers, and he wouldn't want to go to the store, so he'd send you. But if you did not have that seat exactly the way he had it, he would hit you with
car seat. That's true.
I got to explain something. I'm 6'4", my grandfather's 5'4". I couldn't get in the thing. I had to move it back, so when I brought the car back, I had to get out of the car to move it up far enough.
You know what? That's a really good point. My dad is about car seats, too. And he actually, somehow I effing broke it, and all I'm trying to do was adjust it.
The car seat and the mirrors both.
Yeah, right.
Heaven forbid you touch that rear view mirror.
866-277-4969, 866-277-4969. Here comes the Hawk.
Hawk.
My dad had this weird thing with the front yard that we had. It was only a little patch of area. It was like 10 feet by like 9 feet. But the first leaf in the fall that would... fall down on the thing, he'd run out there at the end of the day and clean it up. It was perfectly manicured. He'd be the first one, like, mulching in the spring. And
my dad gets that way about a lawn, too. And sometimes what he'll do is I go see him. He gets me to walk outside with him under some false pretense, and then I end up going around looking at things that he's done, like, notice what's missing, there's a tree stump done. I don't know what to say. You know, I'm going, yeah, great, man.
Nice hole.
You took care of that.
My dad with the grass, he'd be like, you see that grass? I'm like, yeah. He's like, does it look greener than last year? I'm like, it doesn't look greener to me. Same thing. He's like, yeah, I fertilized it.
I would go with it, though. I would just act like it's un-effing believable what he's done with that lawn.
I'd stop by in the middle of the night and put a blue ribbon on it and let him think he's won some sort of award.
He would take pictures of it.
That's a good one. Dads do like their lawns. They think, and I used to think, he must hate my mom because he's just trying to get outside. You just got home from work, you had dinner, and now you're outside.
As far away as possible.
Here's Suzanne. Suzanne, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Suzanne.
Hi, guys.
Hey, baby.
My dad's big thing, literally, and I don't know why my mom did this to us.
Oh,
we
God.
could never have fruit pies, and we could never have donuts. She bought them for his lunch, and that was it. You could never have them. You can't have one. She didn't buy extras.
All right, what kind of work did he do?
He was a construction heavy machinery operator.
Yeah, no, normally guys
took his lunch to work.
Yeah, normally guys who work construction will take their lunch rather than run out, because they like to eat there on the job. Yeah. And because my uncle was the same way, and it was the same thing. If there wasn't something that he had for his lunch that day, he would be flipping the F out.
The problem is kids don't understand that. They just see this treasure trove of snacks sitting there.
Yeah, why not buy a couple extra fruit pies?
Yeah, and he would know if you took one, because my mom bought exactly the amount that he would need each week, so they were fresh and everything, and you could not have one.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. 866-277-4969. Here's the Big V. You're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Big V.
Hey, how's it going?
Cool in the game, man.
Listen, my dad had the heat control in the house. Nobody could touch the heat. If he came home and it was past 68 degrees, he'd start freaking out.
I know my dad would get that way. And also this was another thing that my dad would flip out again. God forbid you started playing with the hose in the backyard.
Oh.
He literally acted like you were trying to bring down the family.
touch the damn hose.
And I remember saying to my dad, I'm sitting there going, other people have a pool. I am sitting here hosing off a little bit because we're scumbags without a pool.
With the hose, it was twofold. Not only were you wasting water, you also weren't rolling the hose back up correctly.
Oh, yeah.
You got it tangled up, you got a knot in it, a crimp in it. Forget it.
I would leave just the hose out, and that would totally freak him out because he was always saying that the hose could be broken. What will happen if that hose is broken? I really don't know.
What are the consequences there?
The
earth will flood?
I'd like to take the hose out to that pool that we don't have and fill that son of a bitch up like everybody else I know. All right, here's Billy Staples. Billy, what do you got for us?
Hey, Billy.
Well, with my dad, it was had to decide the guy every year where the vacation was. And with that, the whole route had to be planned by him, how many stops we made along the way, where we were going to spend the night. But he had to be the one to pick the vacation spot that the whole family piled into the car and went to.
Yeah, we did a lot of fishing trips with my dad, too. And I picked this up now that I'm a dad, I love to map this thing out. I don't know why. And I like to also try to check the mileage all the time to see how much farther we have to go.
There's nothing better than a map, and when you're on the road, making time. If you know you're supposed to be at a certain place at 3 p.m., certain city or a state border, and you get in there at like 2:55, you're under the wire, that's a great feeling.
And I try to get my kids into the excitement, and they feel the same way I did when I was younger. Like, this is the stupidest crap that you're bringing up.
Like, we'd be passing all these cool places on the side of the road, like the reptile farm.
I never stopped at those either.
You were never allowed. I always wanted to stop at this Ruby Falls that I always saw the signs for. Never allowed to.
None of that stuff. South of the border, forget about it. Yeah, and he goes, it's all junk. I go, how do we know?
Until we explore.
Why would they have so many signs if it was junk?
And then you just see another sign go past, and then the brokenheartedness when you're passing this exit for the Gator Farm.
No, and the worst part is, he goes, you have just passed south of the border. Turn around.
Can't you see the sign? Turn around, for God's sakes, man.
Pedro says, 866-277-4969, 866-277-4969. Here's Bob. Bob, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Bob, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing?
What you got?
Talking about dads and TVs. The only time I ever got to change the channel was when my father told me to go change it before we had a remote control.
I did that too, man.
The human remote.
You would just stand there next to the remote.
Yep.
Fortunately, there wasn't that many channels to flip through at that point.
Here's Dan. Dan, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Ron and Fez.
Yeah,
buddy.
What do you got, Dan?
Hey, my old man would hate it when we'd touch his booze.
Yeah.
He'd move it out of place. He'd have that Jack Daniels bottle sitting in one place all the time, and when he'd go for it, it better be there.
Did your dad ever do this? My dad used to bring home cases of liquor all the time. And you never see cases of liquor anymore. And they act like there's more alcoholics now. My dad and my uncle, they would take a trip to wherever they could beat the sales tax, right? It was normally, we were living in Pennsylvania, so they'd drive down to Maryland. And I just see them coming back with cases.
Act like they're bar backs, hauling it in.
Here's our own Rory Hamptons. Rory.
My dad could not have, any phone calls during dinner time at all. And the weird thing was, we would always eat dinner completely different than everyone else. We would eat dinner at 7:30. If that phone rang, my dad would just grab it as quickly as possible and just say, do you know what time it is? And then hang up on it.
Oh, nice.
And it was 7:30. I mean, it was
How does he know that, his mom wasn't hit by a car? How do you don't know who that person?
He didn't care. He felt that dinner time was the most solemn time, that no one can interrupt it, no one could call, no one could get up from the dinner table until he said, we can all leave. He was just, it was like a jail. It was a complete jail.
You were getting food. Quit complaining.
All right, did you used to have a kind of formal dinner where everybody had to sit down at the same time? Or
Yeah.
Ours was like that in my house, too. It literally was, and my house was 5 o'clock, and everybody had to be home. If you were out effing around before 5 o'clock, forget about it. There was no games being played. You were in big trouble.
We had assigned seats at the dinner table. Father put us all lined up. I was on his left-hand side.
Yeah, we always had the same seats as well.
And then the TV went off, and it was always someone else's turn to say grace.
All right, that's true. I knew people that could watch TV while they ate their dinner.
Could you believe it? Didn't they seem like the coolest families?
And we did not have, like, in our dining room, no TV at all. So you couldn't even, you'd have to go in the other room if you wanted to. Forget that. That was out of the question. I've never sat when I was a kid in the other room watching TV and eating, like, with a plate on my lap. That would be, and we never even had dining room trays. I was like, what kind of a crazy, mysterious world are these super mod people living in?
Our family room was right next to the dining room. The TV would have been right there. We were not allowed to have it on.
Yeah, how about you, Roy? TV on?
We had a TV in the room, but my dad would have to turn it on at the end of dinner. Like, he decided when dinner was over. Like, we could all be finished for like a half hour.
Right.
But until he turned that on, that's when dinner was over. So we could either sit there and watch TV, or we can get up and leave.
We now begin our broadcast day.
That's exactly the way it was.
By the time you finished, it was 9:15.
Exactly. We were all exhausted. We all wanted to go to bed.
You guys must have been starving. If you're a kid and you're waiting for a 7:30 dinner, forget about it.
And my mom would flip if she saw us like going into and getting snacks or anything like that, because we weren't allowed to have anything after school.
You know, that was the thing. My mom would say the same thing. You're going to ruin your appetite. I'm going, babe, I got nothing but appetite. I'm starving. All right? I'm coming after it right now. It's like a boll weevil. I'm so effing hungry.
With us, you weren't allowed to have my mother would take the drink away from us. My father they were like playing chess pieces there. They'd move the drink away from me.
Why?
Because I would drink too much, whatever I was having with dinner, and then I wouldn't eat because I'd be all full of liquid. All right, that didn't sound good at all. But I think that's why now I always have my drink at the end of my meal. You see me do that.
You're going to choke to death. And you know what it was? Your parents are just so cheap, they didn't want you drinking that Sprite.
Oh, forget the Sprite.
Here's Kelly. Kelly, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Ron and Fez, how are you?
Good.
All right, we're talking about the dads. I remember my dad had his own tool bench. And if you would go down there and borrow a tool, and you would try to even put it back, he would know that the tool was touched. He would know, and
Those
all hell
dads
would break loose.
They used to love their effing tools.
They love their tools. Every kid would usually get his own set of tools, a little kid tool set, or some hand-me-down tools, and you get told, why aren't you using your own tools? Don't use mine.
Oh, no. And if he sniffed, he could sense that you were down there looking at his tools. Oh, my God.
The worst thing in the world would be your dad comes home, he's walking across the yard, and he sees his good hammer in the dirt.
If you have a toy in his vice, because you just wanted to crush it.
Sure.
Oh, using the vices were totally off limits. Thank you very much. 866-277-4969. 866-277-4969. Billy has something he wants to add. What's that, Billy?
Yeah, we always had different dinner rules. We had the rule that when the street lights came on, that was when you had to go home. As soon as the street lights came on in the neighborhood.
And that's when you ate dinner?
Yeah, well, we'd have to go home, and then there was always the one kid on the block whose mother would sit in the doorway.
But what were you eating at 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night?
No, they went on in the twilight. You know, that was.
But you just said that was your dinner.
Is that your dinner signal, or go home for the night signal?
No, that was just for dinner. Go home.
How would your mom time it with the street light every night? That's what I don't understand.
The lights come on. The rice is ready.
I remember getting the street light rule, though, and that was mainly the summertime when I was a little kid.
I got worse than the street light rule. When Father wanted us home, he flashed the porch light on and off.
That's embarrassing.
So, and we would say, well, what happens if we're playing a game or something and we don't see the light going on and off? He would say, then you should always be looking home. Always be staring at the house. He would tell us that. And like a nut, lights on and off, like a lighthouse.
And he wonders why you raised a fag. What, Billy?
Quickie?
If I didn't see the street lights or we were in the middle of a game, my mother would stand in the doorway of the house, just poke her head out and go, Billy! You know, like in front of all my friends and stuff.
Yeah, but you know what? Everybody gets that at one point or another.
Oh, it's just...
You know, you'll laugh at your friend for getting it, but that son of a bitch is going to be getting the same thing in a half hour.
Parents had such distinct child calls, they might as well have been birds.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a kid named David, and his mother used to scream, dive. It had 8 syllables to it.
Yeah.
Everyone was unique.
No, you never hear people yelling for the kids anymore.
No, that's true.
And that's all I used to hear when I was younger. Everybody's parents would yell. some, and I always thought this was rude, they do the whistle.
Oh, yeah. We had a father who whistled.
And it was always like the dog. Here's Greg, you're on Run of Fez.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, I was just thinking, I was listening to you guys, I was like cracking up when I was like a little kid. We'd come home from school, come home for dinner, and if we were late, and my parents had this thing where they'd take a plate and turn it upside down.
And that would be the end of that?
Well, you'd eventually get to eat, but it was like, it was bad news if you were home late for supper. It's like, you had to be there on time or else you weren't eating, the plate was turned upside down. That was like bad news.
Thanks, buddy. 866-277-4969. We had this rule that until everybody got home, nobody could eat.
Oh, man.
So if I was out and, I'm in the middle of a game or something, I come in, I'm like a half an hour late, there's the entire family just sitting there at the table. And now it's just not like my dad that's mad. It's my mom and my brothers and sisters and my grandmother. Because I'm holding up the whole effing thing.
Everyone is starving.
And I'd come home and, I'd be all like dirty and everything, like filthy. I'm playing football in someone's yard like a scumbag. And I'm just like, oh, God, I hate it here.
This is the worst place.
We actually had a thing where we all used to race to the dinner table because there was one chair that was stuck in the corner. Like, it was a circle dinner table in like a pretty square room, and the table was just pretty much jammed right up into the corner. And there was that one chair sitting...
Like the dunce table?
Exactly. And my mom and dad were on either side of that, so you couldn't, push your brother out of the way or anything like that. So the rest of the family's on the other side of the table. So, everyone would just book down the stairs as soon as my mom said dinner's ready, just so we didn't have to get to that last seat.
And end up in the tarred seat between your parents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we'd be fighting on the staircase, just pushing each other down the stars.
Nobody puts Rory in the corner anymore.
Mark, you're on Run of Fez.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, how you doing?
Cool, bud.
What do you got, Mark?
We got called in with a cowbell.
No. Where were you living? Out in the sticks?
No, in Annandale.
All right, well, wait, we got your dad.
I gotta have more cowbell. I could have used a little more cowbell.
Dinner's ready.
I called him with a cowbell. My friends would have killed me with that bell.
Wow, you must have come from a family of cowboys.
Here's Jonathan. You're on the air.
Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, what's up? You guys have nailed everything. The car radio, the food. My dad's mustard I couldn't touch. But what I always got busted on was the magazine stash.
His Playboys?
Yeah, the Playboys. I would say, okay, the theme is on the left, the May is on top, June is below. He always knew. He'd come home from vacation, they'd say, we need to talk to you. They'd sit me down and say, have you been in our drawers? Every time.
I swear they photograph things like that and go back and check.
I got totally paranoid looking for the hair, the thread. How was he catching me?
Well, you couldn't stop looking, could you?
No, never could. It was so embarrassing. Busted time after time.
All right, see you later. Here's Jeremy. Jeremy, you're on Run of Fez.
Hey, yeah, my parents, we used to have to go to dinner on Sundays every day, and if we didn't make Sunday dinner, they'd lock us out. But if we did make Sunday dinner on time, they'd make us sit there and we weren't allowed to talk to each other.
What?
We weren't allowed to speak at the table.
Was it some kind of religious thing?
No, he was just like a strict Italian father, and there was no talking at the table.
All right, I've been to a lot of Italian houses, and everybody's eating and having fun and talking.
It's a party.
What?
Well, maybe he was just psycho, I guess.
Yeah, he might have been just a grouchy old guy. All right, thanks a lot.
On Sundays, we went to church every Sunday. My dad shook us out of our beds and took us to church on Sunday. It would be so nice on a Sunday when Father would make the call that we weren't going today for whatever reason. Maybe Mother had another hangover or something. Mother was sick. But he would make the call, and I swear it would be like getting a pardon from the governor.
In my house, everybody went to church but my dad. And then his thing was, when we would get home, giant pancakes that would take up the whole thing.
Oh, nice.
But when you're a Catholic, you can't eat before you go to Mass because, you're going to end up getting the communion and you can't have anything in your stomach. And I remember just rumbling, and I'd just be thinking, oh, God, I hope he's making giant pancakes. I hope they're the biggest, fattest pancakes ever. But he never went into a church.
God, if you hear me, he's making giant pancakes right now.
And I remember we used to ask my mom, I go, well, why isn't Dad, doesn't he, that never goes to church? And they'd be like, she'd always say, he works hard. So you don't have to go to church. Like, I see other people's dads here. I'm looking around, I'm seeing their fathers going to heaven.
My dad, when he would go to church, he would make us all go sit up in the pews and stuff, and he would stand right in the back, just lounging back there and stuff.
He wouldn't sit with the family?
He wouldn't sit with the family. He would just stand in the back, and we never figured out what it was. He always said, he's got bad knees, and he's just, got to stretch them out and stuff during church. And later on, we figured out that, there was usually a baseball game or a football game that he would just walk out into the car, listen to it, and then come back, like, for communion, and then get the family.
Can't sit still in church.
He just could not sit still. I mean, he goes to church every Sunday, but he doesn't really, though.
For the scores.
Was he a smoker?
Yes, he was a smoker.
So he'd probably stand outside smoking.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He would definitely go out and have a smoke.
With my dad, when we were in church and any sort of thing we went to, he had to be on the end of the row. That was his spot. Everyone else would march in front of him. He would get everyone in the pew. Then he sat there on the aisle.
I got news for you. That's a smart move, because I hate to have somebody in between me and the exit in church. In case I decide to myself, I can't take this anymore, it's too hot, I got to tie on. And then think, okay, there's an old lady there, and who knows how long it's going to take her to get out. All right, we're going to take a break. 866-277-4969.